Thanks everyone for coming to my speech. Fishing, one of the greatest and most relaxing pastimes. Do you ever wish you could just catch that big trophy fish? Well, you can, but first you need to know how to set up your fishing pole properly. What I will be teaching you is how to set up a hook, a bobber, your sinker, and then baiting the hook. Fishing is something that brings relaxation and excitement at the same time. There's nothing better than the feeling of catching that big fish and reeling them in. In order to do this, though, you will first need to know how to set up your fishing pole. The essentials for setting up your fishing pole are going to be, of course, your fishing pole first. You will need your fishing hook, a bobber, and then your bait, which generally would be a night crawler, but here's a plastic worm that I have that I'll demonstrate with. The first step is going to be stringing your line through the rings on your fishing pole. So here I've got a pretty new fishing pole with my fishing line that I've strung out. And obviously what you're going to do is string it through each ring individually. You don't want to string it around the pole because that is going to negatively affect you when you're trying to reel in that big fish. So make sure it's all coming through smoothly. And once you have it through the top of your pole, you're going to want to click your reel into place so it locks the string. The second step is going to be putting your hook on. Now when you're putting your hook on, it's a very small hole, but you want to make sure you get it through there properly, like this. And the proper way to tie a hook on is what you want to do is twist the hook 6 to 8 times. If you do it any less, you're gonna risk losing your knot and losing your fish in the end. If you do it any more, same thing's gonna happen. So you want to do it about 6 to 8 times. So when you've got it through, I'll show you again. When you're twisting it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's going to be a little hole that you're going to be able to slide the top of the line through. Then you're going to take both ends and pull them tight. Now once you've got it tight, you want to make sure, pull on it, nothing's going to break that. You're going to want to clip the end off, whether it's with your teeth or pliers. I just use my teeth because I've been doing it so long. Secondly, or third step, what you're going to want to do is put your bobber on. Now depending on how deep you're fishing, let's just go with 10 feet deep of water. I want to catch a big bass. I'm going to put it about maybe 6 feet down. So what I'll do is release my reel like I just did, pull roughly about 6 feet out, and then you're going to want to tighten your line again. Make sure it's all the way through and pretty tight because you don't want your reel to get all tangled up. So I've got my line about 6 feet here. What I'm going to do next is put the bobber on so I know my placement. So I've got my bobber here, and you're going to want to put your finger down on one end and pop the top up on the other so you can slip the first hole in. Secondly, put your finger on the top so you make sure your line doesn't come out that you just put in, and then place it around your bobber on the bottom hook. Make sure that's not sliding up and down. It's pretty tight there. Secondly, what you're going to want to do after you put your bobber on is put your sinker on. I've got the sinker right here. What you're going to do, you want it about maybe a foot above your hook, just to make sure that your worm's going to be able to move around and the water's going to help with that, make the fish more attractive. I'm going to put my sinker on, just going to bite down on it to tighten it. So I've got that on. Now after you put your sinker on, most important part, what's going to catch the fish is going to be, not the most important part, but one of the most is going to be your bait. So I've got my night crawler here, squiggling around. What I'm going to do is hook it multiple times. So I'm going to go maybe a 1/2 inch from the head of the worm, push it through. You're going to want to scrunch the body up like this, if you guys can see. String it through one more time. And then, you want to leave, maybe do it another time. You don't want to leave too much, but you do want to leave enough room that the worm can wiggle around and attract those fish. So this is going to be what your fishing pole should look like. You got the bobber, your sinker about 1 foot above, and then your night crawler right there. Make sure that you've got everything on right, your line's straight, your bobber's on correct, because you don't want to have to worry about a big tangle when you're trying to reel in that that big fish. Now, just remember, you're going to string your line through the rings. You don't want it to wrap around the pole. That's important. And then your second step is going to be putting your hook on. And you want to put that line through, wrap around 6 to 8 times, and then make sure it's tight. Then you're going to put your bobber at what depth you need. Put your sinker about 6 inches to 1 foot above your worm, so it can still has room for movement. And that's going to be the proper way to set up your fishing pole. In order to catch that big fish, just remember those steps, because I know that big fish is just waiting to be caught by you. Thanks for coming to my speech, and you guys have a wonderful evening.